Hi everyone, it's Bren here and welcome to this very first Australian cottage garden tour and harvest of 2020 here in my summer garden in New South Wales, Australia. And before we get into this week's update, I did want to acknowledge the tragic events over the last few days here in New South Wales and Victoria with the bushfires. It has been absolutely horrendous. And all of those people are in my thoughts every single day, and I just really feel for what they're going through. I just can't even comprehend the scale of what's going on, like the enormity of these fires. It's just unbelievable. But do you know what? Out of all of this, I see the most amazing community spirit, and people are just so strong and resilient, helping each other, and we will all get through this. These bushfires will end hopefully soon. Hopefully we get some rain, and the drought that we're going through, the crippling drought, will finish, and we will all come out the other side stronger and more resilient. And I know that that's just going to happen, and you know, we need to just keep on going. I'm going to keep on trying to get this garden ticking over. I have a few interesting things to show you this week, particularly with some of my trees and larger shrubs. It's a bit of a wake-up call actually, but before we get into that, I have had a lot of birds come into the garden seeking refuge. The bird baths have been very busy. There's been a lot of different species here that I've never seen before. I've also put out some seed, wildlife seed for them as well. Something I don't usually do in summertime, but there's just not much for them to eat at the moment, so yeah, I'm doing that, and it's lovely to see them. And I grabbed my camera when there was a flock of rainbow lorikeets over at the bird feeder, and I'm going to show that to you now, and then we'll get into, you know, the tour and the harvest. Let's start off over here at the raised garden beds, and by this entrance you can see that the pots down here are starting to fill out nicely. The first zinnia here is opening up, but I've just noticed that some of the petals have disappeared. It wouldn't surprise me if the birds were at it. This cosmos is filling out the pot nicely. It's lovely and bushy and healthy looking. I'm just waiting on some flower buds to start appearing. The amaranth is really starting to take off now. One of the days this week, I think it was about 42 degrees Celsius, and when I came out to the garden this had completely flopped over, but as you can see it's just made a full recovery. Being a cottage garden, I mix all my edibles and flowers together all throughout the garden, and it's the same case here in the raised garden bed section. You may notice that I have, for example, some calendula down here and this salvia intermingled together with, there's a couple of chili plants here. So this one here is a bullhorn chili. I just need to tie it up to the stake. It's flopping over a bit. And then down here I have this sweet banana chili, and these aren't too far off being harvested, probably by next week. But what I will be picking today are these, which are called fairy tale eggplants. These petite little purple and white eggplants grow in clusters, and they can be harvested quite small. I like to just slice them in half and grill them. They've got such a mild flavour. I think that's a really nice way of eating them. This plant is still quite small, but in a short while, in a couple of months, it will be producing so many of these eggplants. And what I'll do with them at that stage is I will just put them in whole into a curry or a ragu. I also have a few more varieties of eggplants in this bed. So this one over here is my Thai green eggplant. You can see there's a couple on the plant coming along. And then over here, this is probably one of my favourite ones. It's the Bonica eggplant. And directly across from the eggplant beds, I have these, which are my capsicum and chili plants in here. Some of them have been overwintered. I've shown you them before. And this one has been overwintered as well. It was kind of leaning over and it's just taken off, I think, even since last week. And I had a look around today and I noticed that I have some capsicums appearing. They've got this really unusual shape, and I'm going to wait now until they turn red before I harvest them. And if you come over this way, I'll quickly grab some more of these candy striped capsicums, which I noticed there's some in here. Whoops, what have I just done? Oh my goodness. And that is why you use your secateurs. You don't try to grab things off like what I just did. Okay, so I'm going to go and I'm going to pick off loads of these. I can see at least maybe 5 of them. I could wait until they're completely turned red to harvest, but I have lost a couple of capsicums this week to the birds. So for the moment, I'm just going to pick these off. And I mean, my kids like eating them green, so it's all good. I'm just taking a break for a minute. I'm sitting here amongst the raised garden beds on the pathway beside my absolute favourite one with all the petunias. And if you look down here, this one is starting to spill over the edge. And I finally got around to tying up my tomatoes. And that was quite a satisfying job to do. Now I haven't got them all tied up, but the 9 plants in here are done and some more around the garden. I still have quite a few more to go. But you know, I just love coming out to this bed and rubbing my fingers amongst the leaves of the tomato plants. It's just a smell that you kind of crave all winter time, and to have it now in my garden, even though I don't have any fruit to eat, it's just satisfying enough having that beautiful tomato smell. So I've just come back outside of the raised garden bed area, and I'm going to head around this way where I have some herbs. This is a tansy plant here, and then that's my lemon balm. You know, I could have harvested that a while ago, but there were so many bees all over the flowers, so I just left it. And then I've got more cone flowers. I planted these last year and I got about 4 flowers, but this year, oh wow, there's like so many more. And over here I've got my corn. It's doing really well. I've got 2 areas of corn, both around the same size actually. But what I'm going to harvest in this section is down here. It's my red okra, which my friend gave me some seeds that she saved from her garden, and there's one ready here to pick now. I'm down near the back of the garden now, and there was a little area here that I wanted to show you that happened this week. It's my little patch of dwarf zinnias. They've started to flower, and I love how, you know, it's just a mixture of different colours. It's just bright and cheery, just what we need in the garden. Look what I just spotted. Now it's the cockatoo's turn to have a feed. It's just been like this all the time. Bird central in my garden. As soon as these cockatoos leave, I'm going to go over and talk about this, what's behind them. This is my magnolia tree. You can see that the leaves are drooping and have turned brown. It looks, it's not looking good for it at all. I have to say, when I saw this magnolia tree looking so sickly, it was pretty shocking. I mean, I didn't think this could happen. I thought it would get through the drought. It's big, mature, it's probably 50 to 80 years old. Look, I haven't been watering it, and now that's something I really regret. I think about all the owners to this property and people who've looked after this garden, and on my watch it's dying. And I know it's only a first world problem, but I feel bad about that. But anyway, I haven't given up on it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give it like some intensive water. So with the level 2 water restrictions, we're not allowed to use a hose. So all I can do now is fill up buckets and pour it under here. I've been doing that every day and trying to keep it going, maybe try and help it recover. I don't know, but you know, I am prepared that, you know, I could lose this tree, but it has been a wake-up call, because it's made me go around to the rest of the garden and check all the other trees, and there are some other, like the wisteria, which I can see it's down the very back fence. A lot of the leaves there are wilting, and my apple trees, the leaves are curling. Some of my other fruit trees, like my oranges. So there is rain predicted for February, which is the first substantial rain. Sorry, it's the train again. It's the first substantial rain that we're gonna get, and hopefully that forecast is correct. So I'm gonna keep the water up to these trees with the hope that we get that rain and take it from there. Otherwise I'm prepared that I'm gonna have to say goodbye to some of them. I'm gonna head out the front in a minute, but before I do, I want to show you a quick and easy upcycle idea. Someone on Instagram asked if I had any suggestions what they could use to make a rain chain, and I suggested maybe you could use these. So these are old springs from a trampoline, and what I've done with them is it's just so easy. I've just hooked them all together like this, and I've just put it on this archway just for demonstration purposes, but you can put them, you know, on the side of your house or a gutter, and you know, the rain just trickles down it, and you put something here on the base. I have this old bin, and you get some water collecting there, and you never know, hanging this up in my garden might bring some good luck, and we might get some rain. Okay, so we'll go out this side gate. There's all my succulents in terracotta pots up against the wall of the house, and I do have a couple of rhubarb plants in here. I'm going to wait until they are a bit bigger, but it won't be too long. Maybe next week I'll do a bit of harvesting of the rhubarb. And here's my passion fruit vine growing over this side gate. I probably should have pulled it out, but I haven't. I just really like the look of the vine growing over it as you come in. But I did notice I had a couple of passion fruit. It might be a bit of wishful thinking, but I'll leave them on there and see what happens. So here we are out the front. I'm going to show you some of my melons, but before we do that, look what I've noticed. I have a lot of leaves falling off this tree here, which is not a good sign. I've tried to water this one as well, but you can see the yellowing and brown leaves coming on. I mean, there's only so much I can do. There's only so much water I can give a tree this size. But I'll keep on going and give it a few buckets. Oh, there's my buckets over there, my little garden pals. Give it some buckets every day and just try and keep it going. What a shame it would be to lose this tree, isn't it? Just magnificent, and it's right up against the house. It really cools the house down against the afternoon sun. This is a bit of an update on my melons. So this one here is the Delice de la Table melon, and there's one in there. Down here I've got my first Kajari melon. I was inspired to grow this by watching some of Jessica's YouTube videos from Root and Refuge Farm. She's in Arkansas in the States, and she grows these during her summertime. And if you haven't seen any of her videos, I'd highly recommend you go and check out her garden tour and harvest videos. They're very inspirational. And I showed you here last week, that's just one of my country sweet watermelons. Hasn't even grown since last week. But down here I noticed on my Sapa rock melons, I have some on the plant. There's one there, and I can see one over here as well. So over this way I have another couple of the zucchinis, the Black Beauty zucchinis to harvest. So next I want to have a little chat about a couple of trees that you can see over there beside the raised beds. So this here is one of 2 apple trees we have in our garden. This is a Granny Smith apple, and I noticed a lot of the leaves were curling up, and the tree looked like it was under stress, and there were apples on this tree developing. They were still quite small, and I made a decision to let the apples from both our trees go for this year, and the birds have already taken them all, and that's perfectly fine by me. I mean, any water that we give this tree, I'd rather it go into the main structure and keep it nice and healthy, rather than it putting energy into producing fruit for this year. And with these 2 trees in particular, they're quite special because they were planted when our first child was born, and they were only like about 1 meter high, and my dad gave them both to us to commemorate his birth. So they're quite sentimental. I'm back over here by this lovely little patch of happiness, this zinnia flowers. I hope you enjoyed this very first summer garden tour and harvest here in my garden in New South Wales. I'm pretty delighted with what's in this basket, all things considering, and hopefully now over the next few weeks these harvests will get bigger and better. And if you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing. I'd really love your support. And I post a new video every single Friday, and until next Friday, I'm going to say bye for now and happy gardening.